Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Nadel. I'm the Vice President of our Skills Accelerator program, and I'm here with our Skills Impact series. And today we're speaking with Nura Said. Nora, it's great to see you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Likewise, thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. We're going to just jump into everything and get started. So let's just start with you introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nura Said. I'm from Somalia, raised in Atlanta, and for the last 15 years, I've been calling Wisconsin home. My background is in biology and legal studies with a side of criminal justice.
Oh, I love that.
I'm currently a regulatory specialist for the Department of Surgery at UW-Madison. I was actually a research assistant back in undergrad at the same hospital. So in a lot of ways, it feels, very full circle to be back supporting research in a different capacity. Um, I've been working in the clinical research space for about 2 years now, and specifically regulatory compliance, which is just a scary term for making sure the research is done safely and accurately.
Hmm.
Yeah, one thing that I like about my role is I feel like um, I'm in the intersect between like business, science, and policy, so it's very hands-on, I would say.
Amazing. And actually, I was born and raised in Madison.
Oh.
Yes. And went to actually UW-Madison for my undergrad as well. So I feel very,
Okay, you rah rah.
yes, absolutely. So share with us kind of what led you to the Skills Accelerator, and what program did you take and when did you take it?
Okay. Um, let's see. Well, I'll start with the why I decided to join.
Great.
Um, for one, the coaching aspect really stood out to me, along with the access to, structured learning and professional development resources and a supportive network, like all good things. And I think I was in a point of time where I was trying to pivot into a different direction. And for whatever reason, I felt boxed in. I felt like my past roles were very niche, and I
Hmm.
didn't know how to branch out into anything else. So, yeah, I felt boxed in. And then earlier on, I felt this pressure to like have everything figured out, and my career coach Diego can attest to this. But honestly, a lot of my clarity came from these counseling sessions. I remember doing a skills inventory with Diego, and throughout that exercise, it just really made me better understand what I actually bring to the table, rather than me chasing, a specific title. I started looking for roles that needs my type of skill sets. So yeah, having that guidance and support from Diego made a big difference. Uh,
I love hearing that. And actually, that's a trend that many individuals who have graduated from our program share, which is that one-to-one
mm,
connection. And more
mhm,
specifically with your experience, this idea that you clearly had a significant amount of education and work experience, but you still
mhm,
felt boxed in. And I think that that's
yeah,
something a lot of us can relate to when we kind of go after these, to your point, like chasing a specific title or I want to be X, which
yeah,
is a great goal, but if X isn't available, then what do you do and where do you go and how do you
mhm,
pivot? And so it's
exactly.
wonderful to hear that you were able to kind of reorient basically your job search from
Mhm,
a outward looking perspective, right? About the roles that I could apply to an
mhm,
inward looking perspective of what skills do I bring to the table and how do I
mhm.
actually want to deploy those skills into the roles that I'm looking at. Um,
Yes.
and so talk to us a little bit about during the program, did you face any challenges in terms of, the amount of time that you had to spend learning, or how did you make sure that you could both work and go through the program and meet with Diego and finish the modules? Kind of walk us through kind of your day to day throughout that 6 week program.
Yeah, yeah. So it was during the time where I was transitioning into another role, and I had sort of taken a break from the workforce just to
Okay.
um, prioritize some things like my mental health and actually having a work-life balance. So that was kind of the turning point for me where I'm so used to like going after, continued learning and professional development. And even though I wasn't working, I still wanted that. So that's how I heard about the Skills Accelerator program. I did the customer service and sales track.
Great.
Looking back, I probably would have chosen the project management track just because it aligns more with what I do now. But I mean, honestly, the skills, carry over. Um, and in terms of the day-to-day experience, it was very manageable. I feel like the structure made it easy to balance with work, life, and other obligations. And I didn't feel overwhelmed at any point. I felt like it was designed for people who are either juggling multiple responsibilities or are trying to pivot. And it was essentially very self-paced with structure and support.
I love hearing that too, because that is one of our selling points, which is that we want to make sure that this program is available and accessible to people who are either working
Yes.
or, as you mentioned, even if you're transitioning. But even if you're transitioning, there's still a lot of things that you have in your own personal life that have to be taken care of. So taking on new learning can be a big ask. And so I really appreciate hearing the fact that the program, and you're right, it was designed specifically for that. When we launched the program, we specifically designed it um, to look at the whole person who is coming in, not just the fact that they were looking for career development, but kind of like what's going on across their entire space and how do
Mhm.
we support individuals that need either,
Yes.
additional support on time management skills or the ability to have conversations or communication with your coach, things like that. So hearing you say that is just music to our ears. And in terms of customer service and project management, and this is something hopefully that everybody knows, as a graduate of the skills program, we are always open to, if you do want to take one of our other courses, you're always welcome. We will share those learnings with you. So I would encourage you to even reach out to Diego or, of course, myself if you want some new project management skills. That's aside from our conversation today, but just want you to know that, once you're in the gener8tor skills family, you're always a part of it. And we're always here to help support you as you continue to grow.
I love that. I love that.
So talk to us a little bit about how the Skills Accelerator kind of helped you reach that next career step. So as you were transitioning and you were able to see yourself in a different light, like what did that translate into from an employment perspective?
Yeah. Let me think about this a little bit. So I think I mentioned my past roles were very niche. I worked for an association management company and we managed international healthcare organizations, and I did two main things while I was there. One, I launched global health programs across Africa. And two, I managed licensing for clinical research and clinical use about rating scales. So I honestly felt like boxed in, like how do I go from something so niche into literally anything else? And I felt like one of the things that really helped me with this program, it got me to start thinking more about my transferable skills rather than a job title. So things like my project management skills, effective communication, problem solving, I realized you can apply those things to any profession. And having that shift opened up more opportunities that I was probably self-rejecting already.
Ah,
And it gave me a more clear sense of how my experience could apply across different fields.
amazing. And just to follow up on that, could you share with us, like for now, or where you're working now, what was one of those transferable skills that you're currently using in your role today?
Of all of them.
I love that.
So, so it a little bit background about what I do specifically. Anytime a industry sponsor, so a pharma company, a biotech company, anytime they want to do research with the institution, they have to go through a lot of federal and institutional requirements, and it's kind of my job to help them navigate that
Okay.
and trying to figure out like how do I keep this study moving while staying compliant and maintaining those collaborative partnerships. So a lot of it is utilizing my communication skills, problem solving skills. So I yeah,
I love how you,
project management skills as well too. So
yes,
there's a lot of moving pieces.
and I love though the way that you're able to articulate that, going through the customer service and sales program, a lot of individuals would, again, think that that is kind of pigeonholing into a customer service role or a sales job. But you were able to take those transferable skills and parlay them into, a research compliance role. And so
Yes.
that's just a really great way for any individual that's looking to join a program like ours, even if the career track isn't exactly what you're looking to go into, the general skills that you're going to use and learn in that track are actually going to be helpful across so many different spaces.
Yes. Exactly.
And so, as we kind of come towards the end of the conversation, I have a couple extra questions for you. What was the impact that this program has had on kind of your life and your family? So you mentioned that you were, wanting to make sure that you took a pause and worked on your mental health, and that you also made sure that the role that you were in was something that you enjoyed. But kind of like how has this transpired since 2023 when you were in the program?
Wow, wonderful question. For one thing, it's helped me with the work-life balance. It helped me reframe how I approach my career. And it's given me a lot of opportunities to, have that level of support, resources, and access to that professional network. And I feel like the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And so being able to land this job that has a really nice work-life balance, it's, I mean, it feeds into all other aspects of my life. And for a long time, I was like really focused on growing in my career. And I succeeded in past jobs. I earned promotions like every 2 years. So naturally, when I was coming up on that 2 year mark for this role, I was asking for more responsibilities, higher pay, and I just kept hitting a wall,
Right.
whether it was budget cuts, limited upward mobility, just things that were out of my control. And at some point, I had to accept no matter how much I hustle at work, I can't control the outcomes.
Mm.
So instead of staying stuck in that mentality, I just started pouring all of my energy into other aspects of my life, family, friends. I've also gotten really involved in the housing policy space here in locally in Fitchburg, and I'm also considering grad school as a next step. So yeah, it
Wow.
it was a lot of mental exercises that just helped me, reframe things like, because I think we're also taught your career has to be your purpose,
Mm.
and I just don't believe that anymore. For me, my job, this role, it's something that I'm good at, and it supports me financially, but it's not everything. I actually watched Emma Grede on Kiki Palmer's podcast recently. And while I don't fully prescribe to that, hustle and grind work culture, it did make me think differently about where that energy can go. And I feel like you can apply that same drive to your life outside of work. For example, to your community, your interests, things that actually give you meaning. And that's made a huge difference. And I don't know if I would have gotten there had I not had that space and the opportunity to really think through my career through this, program. So,
I don't even have a response. That was, one of the most profound things I've heard in these interviews, truly. And I mean that because, we are also at a space where, workforce development is in a transformation. But the healthier and happier we can be as individuals,
yeah,
in all other areas will only drive better outcomes in our work as well. And it's so
yes.
wonderful to hear from you that you're living that. You're living that truth,
Mhm.
and you're able to share it with everyone. So
Yes.
thank you. That's amazing.
Mhm.
My next question is, what advice would you give to someone who is thinking about joining the Skills Accelerator?
Mm. Ooh. I, I might have said this already, so it might sound a little bit repetitive, but just bear with me. Um, I'd really just say focus on what you can control, pursue your interests. Like I said, this is new advice for me as well. And yeah, finding meaning outside of your career, outside of your work, and being able to put, like I said, the more you put in, the more you get out of it, and that kind of just speaks to how well this program really is, how beneficial it is, because I started this thinking, oh, it's just something I'll do, during the downtime. Maybe it'll help me with my career, but the fact that, it's been 2 years, I think, maybe more. But the fact that I'm still to this day very connected, um, you know, some of my favorite things about this program, the coaching aspect and the mock interviews, and I just really urge everyone to take full advantage of those resources and stay connected and build your network.
Oh, that's amazing. And yes, as I mentioned before, once you're part of our program, you're always part of it in the sense of whatever
Mhm.
you need and whatever we can provide for those needs, like we are here. Um, and so last but not least, if you could share one message with our audience, whether it be encouragement, gratitude, or inspiration, what would that be?
Let me hold on.
Take your time.
There's um I'll say this. Find opportunities in this program to not just learn, but to give back and make an impact for others.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nora. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best as you continue
Thank
on in your
you.
career.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anne. This has been great and very reflective for me as well, too.
I love that. Well, I have a feeling I'll be speaking to you again soon, but thank you so much
Mhm.
for joining our Impact series.
Thank you.